We were driving through Virginia countryside when Emily placed her hand on mine and smiled like nothing in the world was wrong. "Your mom's going to overcook the turkey again, I can feel it," she said with a playful grin. I laughed, glancing over. "You love her turkey. I love your mom. The turkey's aggressive." It felt normal. Too normal. Maybe that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't arrive with a gunshot or a scream. It walks through the door in heels and a warm coat, carrying cranberry sauce and a hug for your father. We'd been married 6 years. She was my best friend. My person. No fights lately. No weird behavior. No secrets, or so I thought. We were heading to my parents' house for their annual holiday Sunday, a tradition that existed somewhere between Thanksgiving and Easter. Mom invented it to get all of us back home at least twice a year. Big dinner, bonfire, card games. Family overload. Dad had just redone the old garage into a man cave, of sorts. New shelves. Polished floor. A pool table. He was excited to show me Emily? She was excited to get away from city noise. Or so she said. We pulled into the gravel driveway. Mom was already outside, apron on, yelling instructions at my little nephew who'd managed to tangle himself in Christmas lights, in March. Emily stepped out, stretched in the sunlight. Even after 6 years, I couldn't believe how beautiful she looked. Blonde waves. Sharp green eyes. The kind of beauty that made waiters forget their lines. She turned and winked. "You ready to survive this?" "Always," I said, grabbing the bags. "Let's go pretend we don't drink too much wine or argue about politics." The first few hours were everything they were supposed to be. Laughter. Hugs. Dad grilling even though it was 48 degrees outside. My sister Hannah arrived with her boyfriend, and Emily helped my mom with side dishes in the kitchen. There was one strange moment, though. I found Emily texting near the back porch, her face serious, jaw tight. When I walked up, she quickly pocketed her phone. "Everything okay?" I asked. She smiled. "Yeah. Just Hannah's boyfriend. He said something a little off. Nothing big." That didn't feel right. But I let it go. For now. That night, after everyone was full and half drunk on homemade cider, we sat around the fireplace telling embarrassing stories from our childhood. Emily told the one about when I accidentally wore 2 different shoes to school for a week. Everyone laughed. Even me. But something about her laugh felt wrong. Like she was covering something. Like there was a second version of her just beneath the surface, watching us all and waiting for the right moment to step out. I told myself I was imagining things. Later, around 1 a.m., I woke up alone in bed. The guest room was quiet. Emily's side of the bed still warm. I sat up. Maybe she went to the bathroom? But then I heard it. A creak. The soft kind, like a shoe sole on wood, from downstairs. I got up slowly. Opened the bedroom door. Stepped into the dark hallway. The house was dead silent. And then, again, a sound. But this time, it came from outside. From the garage. I pulled the door open, careful not to make a sound. The cool night air rushed at me, sharp and biting. The faint hum of the wind through the trees. I could barely make out the outline of the garage against the darkened sky, a silhouette of metal and wood, illuminated by the faint moonlight. It wasn't like my parents' garage, the place where we'd spent hours fixing old cars when I was a kid. This was something new. Something Dad had put way too much pride into. And something off. I stood still for a moment, listening. The creak of wood had stopped. The night was eerily still now. Too still. My heart was pounding in my chest. I shouldn't have been so paranoid. I should have just gone back to bed. But something kept me there. A feeling, like a cold, unseen hand gently pushing me closer to the door. I stepped forward, the gravel crunching beneath my boots. Each step seemed louder than the last. I stopped just before the garage door, pausing to listen one more time. Nothing. Just silence. But it felt like the world was holding its breath. With my palm on the cold metal of the door, I gently pushed it open. The softest creak echoed through the space. My eyes strained to adjust to the dim light that filtered in through the narrow windows. The garage was empty, or so it seemed. But there, in the far corner, something was off. A shadow. And then I saw her. It was Emily. But she wasn't alone. She was standing near the back wall of the garage, her back to me. She wasn't doing anything that seemed particularly odd at first, she was just standing there. But the moment I saw her, I felt a deep sense of unease. There was something wrong about the way she was holding herself. My breath caught in my throat. I should have turned around, walked back to the house, and never looked back. But I didn't. I stepped closer. Her voice caught me off guard. "You shouldn't be here." I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs. She didn't even turn around. What are you doing?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. "I'm just..." She paused, and then turned, the fear in her eyes flashing just long enough for me to catch it. Then I saw it. He was there. The man who had been hiding in the shadows, standing near her. I hadn't noticed him at first. But now that I saw him, I couldn't unsee him. He was tall, broad-shouldered. Dark hair, casual clothes. But his eyes were cold. Calculating. There was nothing warm about him. Emily looked at him, then at me. There was an awkward silence, like time was trying to stall, trying to keep me from understanding what was happening. But the truth was already crashing in. I took a step forward. "What is this, Emily? What the hell is going on?" She bit her lip, not answering. The man beside her shifted his weight. Finally, he spoke. "She told me you were coming. We didn't expect you this soon." My mind raced. Who the hell was this guy? And why did he speak like he already knew me? "Who the hell are you?" I asked again, my voice low but tense. "That's none of your business," he said coldly, his words like daggers. "She asked for my help?" I looked at Emily, then back at him. "Emily, please talk to me. What the hell is this?" She finally spoke, her voice almost a whisper. "I didn't want this. I didn't want you to know." "You didn't want me to know?" I repeated, my disbelief rising to the surface. "What the hell are you talking about?" She looked at the man beside her, and then back at me. Her hands were shaking. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the Emily I knew. The one who shared everything with me. The one who promised she would never keep secrets. Emily took a step towards me. "It's not what you think. Please just..." Before she could finish, I saw something. Her hand subtly, but enough for me to notice, she was holding something. Something small, metallic. A key. She quickly stuffed it in her pocket as I stared at her. The man beside her noticed the direction of my gaze. "That's none of your concern," he said, his voice turning harsh. Suddenly, I realized something. This wasn't just a simple affair. This was something deeper. Something planned. But why? What the hell was going on? In the middle of the chaos, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. "Where are you? Dinner's getting cold. We're waiting for you." I looked at Emily. The truth was right in front of me, and yet, somehow, I couldn't fully process it. My brain was shutting down, my emotions running in circles. I tried to speak, but the words didn't come out. Emily turned to leave, but the man stepped in front of me. "She's not yours anymore," he said. "You need to accept that." I was frozen. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The words from that stranger echoed in my ears. "She's not yours anymore." I felt like the world was spinning, like I'd been thrust into someone else's nightmare. But the nightmare wasn't just about her betrayal. No, this was something bigger, something I had no idea I was even part of. The man stood in front of me, blocking the door. His expression was unreadable. Cold. He wasn't afraid of me. He wasn't even worried. "You have no idea what's really going on, do you?" he asked, his tone dripping with disdain. I couldn't focus on his words. I kept looking at Emily. Her eyes were distant now, like she wasn't even there. Not the woman I knew. Emily, I whispered, my voice shaking. What is this? What the hell are you involved in? Her lips parted, but no words came out. She seemed to be struggling, like she wanted to say something, but the words were stuck. Then it hit me. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just betrayal. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was involved in something bigger. Something I couldn't even begin to understand. I turned back to the man. Who the hell are you? Why are you in my life? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a slow, deliberate step forward. I'm the person who's here to help Emily, he said coolly. And you're standing in the way. Standing in the way? What the hell did that mean? I clenched my fists. Help her? You're helping her cheat on me? He shrugged, as if it was the most casual thing in the world. That's a small part of it. But she's in deep now. You have no idea what she's capable of. I didn't know what to think. Was this man threatening me? Or was there something else I wasn't seeing? I turned back to Emily. Emily, please, I begged. Tell me the truth. What's going on? Who is this man? She took a shaky breath. His name is Kyle. He's not who you think he is. I felt like the ground was slipping out from under me. What do you mean? Tell me everything, I practically shouted. But Emily didn't move. Kyle stepped in front of her, placing a hand on her shoulder. You don't need to know all the details. The point is, she's involved in something bigger than you realize. And your time is running out. My brain was scrambling. The confusion. The anger. The realization that everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. Your family has no idea what's happening here, Kyle continued, his voice colder now. You think you're just dealing with a broken marriage? No. This goes far deeper than that. I turned to Emily, desperately trying to make sense of the situation. What does he mean, Emily? What's going on? She looked at me, her eyes wide with something I couldn't place, fear maybe. I never wanted this to happen. But now there's no turning back. Suddenly my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't my mom. It was a message from Hannah. Josh, where are you? Everything's ready. We're waiting for you. I looked up at Emily. I wanted to scream. To demand an explanation. But the silence between us was suffocating. I wasn't sure I was ready for the truth, or that I even wanted it. I've kept you waiting long enough, Kyle said, his words dripping with a sense of finality. Emily, it's time. Emily turned away from me, her eyes downcast, a single tear escaping down her cheek. Time for what? I demanded, my voice shaking with both fury and fear. To end this, she whispered. Kyle reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, shiny key. I couldn't tear my eyes away from it. My heart skipped a beat. That key? I remembered seeing it earlier. She'd hidden it in her pocket when I caught her in the garage. But I didn't understand. Kyle raised the key between us. This is the key to everything, he said. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Everything? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Emily didn't say a word. She just stood there, her shoulders hunched, as though the weight of the world was on her. Kyle smirked. Don't worry. You'll find out soon enough. Then he slid the key back into his pocket and turned to leave, gesturing for Emily to follow. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes flicking between Kyle and me, before she walked toward him. Without another word, she left the garage with him, stepping into the cold night. I stood there, alone, in the dark, trying to make sense of everything. The key. The strange man. The coldness in Emily's eyes. Was she already gone? Had she already chosen him over me? And what the hell was that key for? The night air felt colder now. My chest tightened as I stared at the empty driveway where Emily had disappeared with Kyle. The sound of the garage door slowly closing behind me felt like a death knell, an end I wasn't ready for, but I could no longer ignore. I was on the edge of something much bigger than a simple affair. This wasn't just about Emily's betrayal. This was about power. And control. And a game I hadn't even known I was part of. I stood there for a few minutes, struggling to process what had just happened. Everything felt wrong. My mind was spinning, filled with questions, most of which I didn't have answers for. Why was she involved with Kyle? What did the key mean? Why didn't she fight for me? Why didn't she tell me the truth? I stumbled inside, barely aware of the steps beneath me. The house was eerily quiet. My parents were still out with the rest of the family, and I was left alone with my thoughts. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Hannah. "Josh, it's time. Come to the garage now." I felt a rush of adrenaline. The garage? Wasn't that where it all started? Where I had first found Emily and Kyle together? I gripped my phone tightly. I couldn't wait any longer. I needed answers. I walked back out the door and made my way toward the garage. My heart raced, the sound of my footsteps pounding in my ears. The darkness seemed to stretch on forever as I reached the entrance. My hand hovered over the doorknob, hesitation gnawing at me. But there was no going back now. The truth was waiting for me inside. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open. Inside, the garage was dimly lit, the only source of light coming from the flickering bulb overhead. Emily was standing there, but she wasn't alone. Kyle was beside her, and there was something different about him. He seemed calmer now, almost like he was in control of everything, like this was all part of his plan. Emily didn't look at me. She kept her eyes trained on the ground, her hands wringing together nervously. She was terrified, but not of me. She was scared of something far greater than the consequences of her betrayal. Kyle's voice broke the silence. "You're finally here." He stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "It's about time." I glared at him. "What's going on, Kyle? What is this? What is she involved in?" Kyle smirked, his demeanor one of complete indifference. "You think this is just about an affair? No, Josh. It's about much more than that." I felt a cold chill run down my spine. "What do you mean?" He laughed softly, but it wasn't a laugh of amusement. It was a laugh of someone who knew everything, who had already won. "Emily isn't just a victim here. She's part of something much larger. Something you never would have guessed." I turned to Emily. "Emily, please. You owe me this. You owe me the truth." My voice cracked as I spoke, the desperation in my words unmistakable. But she didn't respond. She just kept her eyes lowered, a few silent tears slipping down her face. "She's been working with us for months," Kyle continued, his voice cold and calculating. "This isn't just about cheating. It's about loyalty, power, and survival." Survival? What the hell was he talking about? Kyle stepped forward, his eyes locking with mine. "Emily's been feeding us information. You think she was just working at that office job? No, she was planted there. She's been keeping an eye on you, Josh. Everything you've done, every step you've taken, she's been watching. And reporting." I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew was shattering. Emily, my Emily, had been lying to me from the very beginning. Not just about the affair, but about everything. She had been a part of something far darker than I could ever have imagined. Kyle reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. He tossed it on the table in front of me. "All the information she's been collecting. Every conversation you've had. Every move you've made. It's all in there." I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about manipulation. Emily hadn't just slept with another man. She had been playing a role, a dangerous, twisted game that I had no idea existed. I picked up the envelope, trembling, and opened it. Inside were documents, files, photos, surveillance notes. My stomach turned as I flipped through the pages. It was everything. Everything about my life. About my work. About my family. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, my voice hoarse with shock. Kyle's eyes darkened. It's the beginning of the end for you. And the start of something much bigger. You were never meant to know about any of this. But now you do. I turned to Emily, my heart breaking. Why? Why would you do this to me? I loved you. She finally looked up, her eyes full of regret and fear. I didn't have a choice, Josh. It wasn't about you. It was about survival. About the people we're involved with. Who? I yelled, the anger and betrayal coursing through me. The organization. She whispered, her voice barely audible. We're all connected in ways you can't understand. And now you're a part of it too. My world had just been flipped upside down. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had been working for some dangerous organization. She wasn't just a victim. She was a player in a game that was far beyond me. And now, it seemed like I was tangled in it too. In the distance, I heard the sound of a car engine starting. Kyle turned, his gaze intense. This is your last chance, Josh. You either walk away now and forget everything, or you stay and fight. But know this, you won't win. None of us do. I stared at Emily, unable to speak. The weight of her words crushed me, and my heart felt like it was being torn apart. She wasn't just a wife who had cheated on me. She was part of something dark, something I couldn't begin to understand. The files on the table in front of me were not just evidence of her betrayal. They were a map to a much larger conspiracy, one that had been hiding in plain sight all along. Kyle was watching me, waiting for my next move. His eyes were cold, devoid of any sympathy. To him, this was just business. But to me? This was my life crumbling before me, and I didn't know how to stop it. You have to understand, Josh, Emily whispered, her voice trembling with fear. It wasn't about you. It never was. We were just tools. Pawns. You're in way too deep now. Pawns. That's what we all were. Every one of us. I glanced at the envelope again, the thick stack of documents now feeling like a weight I could never put down. But something about it wasn't sitting right with me. Emily's words kept echoing in my head. We were just tools, she had said. Which meant she wasn't alone in this. Who else had been feeding them information? Who else was a part of this? And why had she gotten so deep into it? The sound of a car pulling up outside snapped me out of my thoughts. Kyle raised an eyebrow, clearly aware of the arrival before I was. His calm expression never faltered as the door to the garage opened. Josh, said Kyle, his voice like ice. This is your last chance. You walk away now, and you go back to your life. Forget everything. Forget Emily. Forget us. But if you stay, well, we'll see how far you're willing to go. I felt something stir inside me, a mix of rage and helplessness. Was I ready to just walk away from it all? But what did that even mean? Walking away meant leaving Emily, the woman I loved, but it also meant walking away from the truth. From whatever had been going on in the shadows. Was that even possible? Then the door opened again. This time, it wasn't just the sound of a car. It was the footsteps of someone else entering. Someone familiar. I froze. Ben, I said, my voice barely a whisper. My brother. Standing in the doorway. A look of unease on his face. What the hell are you doing here? I demanded, my mind racing. Ben's eyes darted from me to Emily and Kyle. I had no choice, he muttered, stepping into the dim light of the garage. I'm sorry, Josh. Everything clicked. My brother. Ben had been a part of this. He had to have known. He had been around when I was asking questions, when I was confused, when I was looking for answers. He was a part of this game, and I never saw it. Ben, I said again, my voice rising in disbelief. You knew? You've been in this with them all along? He couldn't even look me in the eye. Emily's not the only one you've been lying to, Kyle added, his tone suddenly much more relaxed. Your brother here has his own set of skills. He's been useful to us, helping us with logistics, handling some of the heavier operations. Ben shifted uncomfortably. I didn't want this, Josh. I didn't want any of it. But it's not that simple. Not that simple? I echoed, stepping toward him, fury building inside me. You've been a part of this whole thing, feeding them information about me, about the family? He shook his head slowly, his voice shaking. I didn't want to do it. But Emily, she needed help. And I couldn't let her go through this alone. You don't understand, Josh. You don't know who these people are. What they'll do to get what they want. I could see the fear in his eyes, but it wasn't enough. I wanted answers. I wanted the whole truth. And I wasn't going to stop until I got it. I turned to Emily, who was standing in silence, her face pale and drawn. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. All this time, you couldn't say anything to me? I couldn't, she whispered. You wouldn't understand. You'd never understand. You're too clean. You've always been clean. But there's a line we all cross eventually. And when you cross it, Josh, there's no going back. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just a betrayal of love. This was a betrayal of everything I had ever believed in. I was in way over my head, and the more I tried to climb out, the deeper I sank. The people I loved the most were the ones who had dragged me down into this mess. Kyle stepped forward again, his eyes gleaming with something dangerous. This is your last warning, Josh. You walk away, and you leave the past behind. Or you stay, and you fight for a future you'll never get. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, suffocating under the weight of it all. My brother. Emily. Kyle. They were all players in a game I hadn't even known I was part of. And now, the only way out was through. But what if I couldn't make it out alive? Make your choice, Josh, Kyle said softly, his voice full of dark satisfaction. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't just fighting for Emily anymore. I was fighting for my life. And it was a fight I wasn't sure I could win. I stood there, in the cold garage, surrounded by the people I loved, now strangers. My heart felt like it was being crushed, each beat coming slower than the last. Ben. Emily. Kyle. None of them were who I thought they were. I couldn't even recognize the faces of the people closest to me anymore. The garage had become a battlefield. And the truth? It was the weapon that would either destroy me or set me free. I can't just walk away, I said, finally breaking the silence. Not after everything. Not after I've seen what you've all been doing. Kyle smiled faintly, his eyes gleaming with an almost sinister pride. That's what I was hoping you'd say. He stepped back, making way for Ben, who had a look of resignation on his face. Josh, I never wanted you involved in any of this. But now that you are, there's no easy way out. There's no going back to how things were. I felt like the walls were closing in on me. I needed answers, and I needed them now. What is this? What's going on? What have you all been hiding? I demanded, turning to Emily. She shifted uneasily, her eyes darting to Ben for a split second before looking back at me. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, she whispered. But then, in that moment, it all clicked. The pieces of the puzzle I'd been trying to put together, they were finally falling into place. Ben and Emily hadn't just been hiding things from me. They had been hiding the fact that they were involved in something far bigger than just an affair. The documents, the secrets, the lies, they were all part of a massive conspiracy. And I had been unwittingly caught in the middle of it. But why me? Why had they dragged me into this? And what exactly were they hiding? I need to know everything, I said, my voice sharp and firm. Now. I'm done with half-truths. I'm done being played. Ben sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. It's not as simple as you think, Josh. This isn't about family secrets or affairs. It's about power. Control. And you've been at the center of it all along. Kyle stepped forward, his demeanor suddenly changing. You want the truth? Fine. His voice was low, almost menacing. You were never just an innocent bystander in this, Josh. You were the key all along. We've been using you. And Emily, well, she was the one who pulled the strings. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. What do you mean? What do you mean I was the key? Emily flinched, as if my question had cut deeper than she anticipated. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say anything, Kyle interrupted. It's not her fault. She was following orders, just like everyone else. You were supposed to be the fall guy. A perfect target to distract everyone while we put the pieces of our plan into motion. I stared at them, trying to process the enormity of what was being said. The betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, they had all been part of a plan. But what was the end game? What was this all leading to? And why had Emily, the woman I loved, been a part of it? Why, Emily? I whispered, my voice shaking. Why did you do this to me? Why did you let them use you? Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't look away. I didn't have a choice, Josh. They made sure of that. They promised us everything. Security, power. And I was too weak to resist. I thought I could fix it, that I could get out. But I couldn't. It was too late. Kyle chuckled darkly. She's right, you know. It was already too late before you even knew what was happening. You were never meant to be in control of your own life. You were always just a pawn in our game. My body tensed. The anger I had been holding back for so long finally broke free. I'm not your pawn, Kyle. And I'm not walking away. You can't just take everything from me and expect me to disappear. Ben looked conflicted. Josh, you don't understand. There are bigger forces at play here. It's not just us. You can't fight them. They'll come for you. They'll destroy you. No one is going to destroy me, I said, my voice filled with determination. Not anymore. I turned back to Emily, feeling the weight of everything we had been through. I loved you, Emily. And you've made a choice. But that doesn't mean I'll go down without a fight. Just as the tension between us reached its peak, the garage door creaked open, cutting through the silence. The shadow of a man appeared in the doorway, tall and posing, his face hidden in darkness. Looks like I've missed all the fun, the voice said, gravelly and cold. I froze. Another player in this sick game. And I knew deep down this wasn't over. Not by a long shot.